came to the Isle of Wight in September before we started this channel, and we had a really good time. We thought, what's it going to be like in winter? Well, one way to find out. Here we are at the end of January, and so far so good. The weather has been absolutely fantastic. It's been very cold, obviously, but sunny and dry, and we've had some fantastic walks. We've also been really pleasantly surprised at the number of things that have been open. Even the mini golf was open yesterday, although we didn't try it. Today we walked along from Shanklin towards Sandown. Actually managed to have a cooked breakfast sitting outside, which was absolutely lovely. Didn't expect we'd be doing that in January, to be perfectly honest, but it was warm enough, wrapped up, so far it's definitely been worth the experiment. So the footpath is closed here, presumably because there's a risk of the cliffs falling down, but we can make our way around on the beach this way. Tide might be coming in, so we'll see how well we do on the way back. We parked in Shanklin and walked about a mile along the coast to Finn's Beach Cafe near Sandown. These beach huts aren't meant to be there. We genuinely thought that the path was only closed as far as the beach huts had moved, but it became apparent later on that that wasn't quite the case, as there were other bits of cliff that had also come tumbling down. We picked our way carefully through the debris and carried on. We weren't sure whether we'd be hardy enough to sit outside in January, but we needn't have worried. In the shelter of the cliff, it actually felt reasonably warm if you were wrapped up, and the dogs had a little blanket to keep them warm as well. Our cockles were also warmed by a flat white and an oat milk mocha. A vegan full English and a full English rounded things off nicely. Not sure about the passing pump out tanker though. Having worked out that the footpath was completely closed and the fact that the tide was in by this point, we decided not to risk it again and to head up onto the cliff path instead. It was a fairly steep path, but we probably needed that exercise after the breakfasts, but it did afford a fantastic vantage point once we were up there. Overall, it made a really enjoyable circular walk. Back in Shanklin, Kerry and the dogs took advantage of the opportunity to have a sunny nap, while I headed out onto the beach. For me, there's nothing more enjoyable than walking along a sunny, sandy beach, listening to the waves. It's just like absolute paradise. On a day like today, it was fantastic. And without having to worry about controlling a dog, I was able to spend a bit more time doing some beach combing and looking out for sea glass. This is something that I loved doing when we came on holiday to the Isle of Wight when I was a child, so I wasn't going to pass up the opportunity to try it again. I got a pretty good haul, but that elusive blue glass still evaded me. We spent most of our time in Shanklin on the seafront because the beaches are accessible to dogs at this time of year, so we wanted to make the most of that. But Shanklin village itself is well worth a walk through. It's got really pretty thatched cottages and it's a real picture postcard setting. Back at the van, it was time to wake some sleeping furries and head back for the night. By the next morning, the weather had turned. It was still dry, but it was very grey and bitterly cold. Undeterred, we headed to Culver Down, parked in the free car park, and tried to admire the views as best we could. I imagine on a sunny day it's absolutely spectacular up here. Among other things, there's a monument, an old battery, and even a pub, but unfortunately that was closed today. I think I spoke too soon about the weather. It's gone brutally cold today, but then we are up a hill, quite an exposed position, so I guess that's what you expect in January. But nice bracing walk up here, bit of different scenery this morning, and then we'll make a plan for the rest of the day. Sandy was wasting no time in hurrying back to the van, and I have to say, I couldn't really blame her. As we headed back towards the cattle grid, we found a group of bovines who were unwilling to move for a couple of townies like us. Luckily, a chap in a pickup truck came in the other direction, so we decided to let him take control of the situation. His strategy was basically to drive slowly at them, so we decided to follow suit and see what happened. Cute cows, apart from like... Having made it out of there with the van and all cows intact, we headed to Bembridge and parked up in the car park near the lifeboat station. There's a lifeboat shop here, and you can also visit the boathouse, although it was closed when we were there. There's also some public toilets. After a quick stroll, we headed on to Duver Beach and had a bit of lunch. We chilled out with the heating on for a little while before we went for a walk to check out this sea mark. It was originally built as St Helen's Church in the early 12th century, but it stopped being used as a church in 1703, and the tower was bricked up. It was turned into the sea mark that it is today. It was an enjoyable walk anyway, but I imagine on a sunny day you could spend the whole day here. There's a cafe that's open in summer and also some toilets, so there's no reason why you couldn't be here all day. The coast path runs in both directions, and it's quite different scenery depending on which way you go. So you've got the more sort of seaward end with the sea mark, and then you've got beach huts running in this direction, and you can walk towards Bembridge Harbour. After our walk, we packed up and headed home, stopping off at the Isle of Wight Distillery to pick up some supplies. You can buy Mermaid gin and vodka and HMS Victory gin and rum. The Mermaid's worth it for the bottle alone in my opinion, although the Zest gin is lovely. Join us next time as we encounter foghorns, lighthouses and meet some donkeys.